We just got back from spending the weekend in Keema, where we went sailing for the first time with just the two of us and no other responsible adults around. It actually went way less smoothly than we anticipated, but we'll get to that part in a minute. On Saturday, we met up with our friends Mark and Leslie, who are also in our ASA 101 class, and we did our Skipper's Skill Building course that South Coast Sailing offers to its 101 graduates. The purpose of Skipper's Skill Building is to build students' confidence by getting them more time on the water with an experienced captain to babysit them and help them review skills they might not be comfortable with. This particular sail was a little uneventful. The wind was light and maneuvering was kind of slow. Near the end of the sail, however, we came up with the idea to practice tacking single-handedly, where one person would have to handle all the stations by themselves. This was fun, but it was also challenging, and it was actually really good practice. After sailing, we had lunch and then explored the cute little town of Keema for a while. The main feature there is a boardwalk that has all sorts of roller coasters and rides. We found a cool spot near the channel where heaps of fish would come up to the surface of the water for food, and we found it really amusing, which you can see here. After our walk, we found a charming little coffee shop where we settled in and studied our course material for the next sailing classes that were coming up soon. This was the first coffee shop that I'd been to that actually had kombucha on the menu, which thrilled me as I'm a big fan of kombucha. The next day was the big day, our first time sailing for real, without anyone telling us what to do or what not to do. To us, this was the real test, and we were both nervous about screwing something up royally. One of the main things I was worried about was docking for both entering and exiting the slip. The boat was 25 feet long, and the fairway wasn't much wider than that. I didn't get any footage of us leaving the dock because I was far too preoccupied with trying not to run into any other boats, but it went surprisingly very well and without incident. Bolstered by our mostly graceful departure from the dock, we motored out past the third marker and turned into the wind to set our sails, and then that's when things started to go wrong. The wind was blowing much harder than it had done on any of our training days. Our boat didn't have a wind meter, but the weather forecast had said that the wind was something like 10 to 12 miles per hour, or about 10 knots, which, while that's not a ton of wind, it was easily double what we'd been trained in so far. With Jessica at the helm, I raised the mainsail, only to find out whoever had the boat last had reefed the mainsail and then stowed it partially reefed. Once I realized the sail wasn't going to go up all the way, I had to lower it and had to untie the knot to the second reef's clew. With the wind making the sail luff and jump around, it took a lot longer than it should have. I got it done, but it wasn't pretty, and that was pretty much the theme for the rest of the day. We were actually way overpowered with too much sail up, at least for our skill level, and only having 2 people on board. This led to a situation where we were actually heeling over excessively, or what felt excessive to us, and it was seriously freaking us out. And in both of our heads, we were sure the stupid boat was going to flip over, though in real life, probably the situation was way less dramatic than it felt. From there, we fought to get the jib furled with only about 5 feet of it out, and then also got the mainsail pulled down to its second reef. But all of this took way more time than we thought it would, and by the end we were probably a little underpowered, but we were shaken and we just wanted to take it easy. So we decided to heave to, take a break, and eat a brownie. Heaving to actually works really well, and we were able to just hang out for a while and relax without constantly having to be mindful of the boat. After some selfies and some water, we headed back towards land and practiced trimming our main sheet to help us keep the heel manageable. After all this ordeal for 3 hours on the water, I'd come up with 3 important things that I decided I'd learned. The first was, Look how other sailboats have their sails set before setting your own. After we realized we were overpowered, poorly trimmed, and heeling over way too much, we were able to fix it by reducing the amount of sail exposed to the wind, but we could have saved ourselves a lot of grief by realizing that only about 10% of the other sailboats out there had both sails fully deployed. 90% of them were sailing with a reef and reduced jib, or maybe just a single sail out. The second lesson was, if you're heeling more than is comfortable, the quickest way to fix it is to ease the main sheet. Sure, that's basic sailing, but knowing and experiencing are two different things. And when you're freaking out because you think you're going to tip over, easing the main is definitely better than turning quickly into the wind. The third lesson, practice tying knots with sailing gloves on. I can tie a bowline behind my back, but that's indoors and with bare hands. However, I'm apparently terrible at tying a bowline to the mainsail. With gloves on and the wind making the sail luff around chaotically, it takes me 5 minutes to get one knot done. A little practice with more like real world conditions would have helped out a lot there. We also for a while tried completely furling up the jib and unreefing the mainsail to feel what that was like for power. And actually I really enjoyed that and it went real well. After a while, we decided to head in, but before we did, we had to stow the mainsail, and with just 2 people, it was a lot more cumbersome than I'd planned on it. But we got it done. So after the sails were down, we motored in and prepared for docking. With how our luck had been so far, I fully expected to hit every single other boat on the way in or something, but actually it went really smoothly. I was maybe a touch too slow into the slip, but this wasn't anything the dockhand couldn't compensate for, which was awesome. It was great to end the day on a high note. The sailing had been rough, but I'm sort of glad it was, because we got so much more experience than we would have if it had been really light winds. If that day was a personal test, then I fully feel like I passed it. It might have been graceless, but it still counts. So check in again with us soon to see how our ASA 103 and 104 combined course goes, where we actually live aboard a boat for 3 days and nights. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you later.